OMG! Silent Hill! I'm pretty sure this is the most amazingest game ever! Hey man, you know you still got that report to do, right? Oh yeah? What's it about? It's a book report. Duh. Books? No way, man. Books are for educated people. They have one that's about Silent Hill. Wait, what? Whoa! I suddenly enjoy reading now! And it's not stupid anymore! And I'm gonna go make that project.
No matter what period within the 20th century, horror films were always highly anticipated, and the 90s were no exception, with numerous films being released in hopes to terrify the public. Though in most instances, the fears associated with the film became all too common. You either had zombies, vampires, gremlins, koalas, and all that good stuff. However, there was one exception that appeared in the form of a video game in 1999. A group of staff members within Konami, known as Team Silent, were branded as outsiders for their decision to work on a project that moved away from the Hollywood-like atmosphere that had proved to be quite financially profitable for so long. Instead, this group decided to take their chances, overlook the dollar symbols, and practically create a new type of gaming genre. To try to put things into perspective, the Silent Hill series is a worthy adversary to the Resident Evil franchise. It ignored the repetitive elements of a survival horror and shifted into a far more obscure direction. The psychological horror was then established for the gaming community, which sought to appeal to the emotions of players instead. However, many of these concepts, including the fear of the unknown, had long been in existence, but were trapped through the medium of books, and odds are your typical gaming audience had not been exposed to these elements before. Notable inspirations for the Silent Hill series include Stephen King's The Mist and Ken Casey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The fear established within the series was completely dependent on the ideas of imagination and the sense of exploration. It was well received from audiences of both hemispheres of the world. Just like anything else that soon becomes popular, merchandise of every sort and size became available. Besides clothing, there were plenty of spin-offs in both movies and books, including graphic novels. However, many were not capable of holding a candle to its predecessor. Even though I'm basing this on reviews made by random people online, they all brought up similar points. Factors like resorting to the same already completed story, the comics themselves being visually unappealing, and not to mention plot lines that make as much sense as a poem like The Red Wheelbarrow. But, according to the internet, there was something behind all the corrupted knockoffs. As time had passed, now in the year 2008, the seventh depiction of a story coming from the city of Silent Hill had been constructed, with all the qualities of a good graphic novel being present, including visually fitting and pleasing artwork, a new cast of characters, and an original plot still set in the Silent Hill environment. The original concept of the franchise was maintained in this 4-issue collection. Silent Hill: Sinner's Reward was written by Tom Waltz and illustrated by Steph Stam. Not only is it a fantastic read, but I don't even think you need to know what Silent Hill is in order to appreciate it. Now, before we take a dive into this almost psychedelic universe, be advised that we're not just admiring the story and its artwork. Although both are great, trust me, we'll also be taking a look at how this relatively modern comic actually maintains the same ideals, branching from the birth of American literature. Mainly, we're talking about the ideas from two specific periods. First, there was the religious movement stemming from the Puritans that introduced predestination and total depravity. Secondly, we have the Age of American Enlightenment, a time which led to imagination, discovery, soon drafting the American dream. Going over the cast of 4 main characters, we start out with Jack, the pup, Stanton, who's worked as a hitman for the Irish mob, killing others his entire life. He recently quit his job, and now he's on the run, accompanied by his spur-of-the-moment lover, Jill. Now, Jill isn't just any random woman Jack wanted to pick up for a little comfort, nope. Conveniently, she's not only married, but she happens to be claimed by Jack's former boss, Tommy. Lastly, there's Sarah, a younger girl who I sadly can't reveal any further details at this point. Back to Jack. Though he's certainly immoral when it comes to preserving faithful relationships and other people's lives, you can't help but establishing some connection with the guy. Aside from his faults, which we all as humans have, I might add, he's setting goals to at least try to turn his life around. The fact that Jack's killed so many people in his lifetime might make a lot of us jump to the conclusion that we are in no way relatable to the guy. But if we revisit the brief, somewhat disturbing flashbacks of his childhood experience, in which his father commands him to shoot his own beloved dog just in order to gain his acceptance and be labeled as a man, this sheds some light on a reoccurring theme, the common man. Just like in stories that have the concept of the American dream, the characters would be regarded as a regular person or the common man. By that, I mean the protagonists are by no means a hero. They're normal people just like you and me. They have a limited lifespan, goals they hope to achieve within it, and usually someone or something that's close to their heart. With all of these cards completely on the table, could Jack's decision to give up on all the pointless killing better him in any way? Or has his fate already predetermined that he is set to die a killer just as he was born one? This brings in the concept of predestination. It's a Calvinistic idea that proposes that your destiny is already determined, with no chance of you as a human being able to alter your own fate. Typically, it's based on factors like your career or social class. As far-fetched as it may sound, the Puritans actually undoubtedly practiced this mindset. Pushing on through the story, Jack and Jill are soaring through the roads and end up particularly close to Silent Hill. Before that, they decide to stop at a nearby gas station. They are greeted by an old man that is polite and creepy at the same time, who also likes to speak metaphorically for some reason, I guess. Unfortunately, Jack is caught by his boss's henchman where he is knocked out and loses consciousness. Oh, and Jill is taken away from him too. On a positive note, the same creepy old man takes care of a few of them, and practically saves Jack's life. When Jack regains consciousness, he is told the location of his lover. With his goal of still wanting Jill to be alongside him in his new life, the adventure to the highly unpopulated city of Silent Hill takes off. It's at this point where discovery and exploration become powerful themes, as Silent Hill in itself can be a difficult concept to understand simply because the whole underlying theme of it is that you're never supposed to know where you're at in the first place. You're meant to feel uncomfortable and afraid as you begin to question your own reasoning with the unsettling combination of fear and imagination that's taking over. Speaking hypothetically and relating it back to Calvinism, is it even possible to rescue Jill and make it out of the city alive? Or is it once again a type of fate that you yourself cannot change? From here, the story plays out like a cat and mouse situation as Jack's former boss, Tommy, gains the rising suspicion that something is wrong. Which is pretty close if you ask me. I mean, the creepy old guy did sort of kill two of his men without even hesitating. So, good job, old guy? Jack's car runs out of gas, so he takes the city by foot. He's of course armed to the bone with guns and ammunition, since he's kind of paid to use these weapons anyway on a day-to-day basis. No big deal. It's at this point, much like the video game, where we realize that the bad guys are no longer some guy's henchmen. In fact, they're not even human. If I was to classify them, I'd say they're entities. Creatures that just exist. The unsettling part of it, however, is that each creature is distinguishable from another. Each one he encounters resembles the face of one of his former victims. An agreeable, chilling idea, but he brushes this off, addressing the situation as coincidence, I guess? Yeah, totally. He finally gets a lead on Jill, who's encountered a significant change for some reason. It's not just the nurse outfit she's randomly decided to rock either. No, she's taken on a completely different personality. Jack is interrupted once more when he hears screams from afar.
Jesus?
Well, pretty close actually. The fact that she's tied into the position of a cross isn't mere coincidence. Relating it back to Puritanism, the Puritans would search their daily lives in order to find any symbols from God. It's another religious reference. Jack once again kills all the creatures surrounding the girl and rescues her. This is Sarah. Even though they're both practically in a state of terror and confusion, at least they have each other? Yes. An interesting thing that occurs, however, is that when Jack offers a handgun to Sarah in order to protect herself, she refuses. Amongst all of this, Tommy's presence grows increasingly near. Not wanting to give out any plot-destroying spoilers, what I can say in reference to the situation Jack is going through, it's not simply due to bad luck or anything, though he certainly encountered a lot of it. I'm not going to say that these situations are merely a dream. If anything, it's more like a realistic nightmare. Every character encountered withholds some sort of weight due to the fact that it's somehow related to a bitter period from his past. In the very introduction of the novel, it states, "Some sins you can't outrun, no matter how desperately you try." Relating this to one of the 5 points of Calvinism, total depravity, states that man is completely affected by sin, and hence some are unable to achieve any kind of salvation from God. Now, if I'm unable to escape my sin, wouldn't that practically translate to the idea that salvation in itself would also be unachievable? If that's correct, well then we would have found a relation between two completely different ideas just from the first look at both the novel and the views of Calvinism. So assuming it is possible for Jack to become saved in Christian-based religions, how does one become cleansed of their sin? Sure, the answer is simple: forgiveness. Now, how exactly does this cold-blooded killer plan to achieve forgiveness? Well, in hopes to leave you on a cliffhanger, you'll just have to check out the novel yourself. Silent Hill: Sinner's Reward is a throwback to the original idea of what defined its franchise as a new type of horror genre. Whether you've played the original game numerous times and follow its Tumblr page while also liking it on Facebook, or if you know nothing about it and just want an interesting session of storytelling, you have my recommendation. Now I leave you with this. Good night, and good luck.